Welcome to Helping Hackers. It's kind of an ambiguous kind of title, so I like to kind of start off before going through the whole spiel here. How many people here either generate pen testing reports or ingest pen test reports? Got a couple. So if you generate pen test reports, you're probably going to be excited about this. If you ingest pen test reports, you may be more excited. I don't know. I've been in software testing in some form or capacity for 25-ish years, I think at this point, something like that. So I've been breaking things for a long time. For many years, people said, "Just what do you do?" I said, I break stuff. And it's kind of what I do. So a little bit about me. Started out with Sun Microsystems back in the day, actually with HPUX. Go back even further than that. So teaching HPUX. Then went and worked for Sun Microsystems, so old Unix nerd. 9/11 happened, Sun closed a lot of offices, and thus began the end of Sun and the beginning of the Oracle acquisitions and destruction of Sun, in my opinion. But I kind of went from there into pure software development lifecycle stuff. So that's where the testing really started to dig in for me. So really focusing on PMO, functional testing, performance engineering, and the whole stack. So just kind of going the whole thing there. Been a long time HP person, been involved with HP products for a long time. HP bought a company called Mercury, so if you're doing testing, their stack of software was considered the best. Then some friends were like, "Hey, do you want to come join Fortify? We're building this hacker team over here. We're going to have fun. We have all the cookies and all the stuff." So went and did that, and that was a long time ago, and now I'm just kind of here, so hanging out. So I work for SolidWorks. If it's testing, if you're breaking it, it comes through my leg of the team, my leg of the company. I got one of those client principal names, which means, you know, I'll probably wash your car for the right rate. But you know, it just kind of goes that route. So that's a little bit about me there. So pen testing. One of the biggest challenges in pen testing, in my opinion, even bug bounty hunting, whatever, especially nowadays when we're doing team testing, we have multiple people testing applications at the same time, is reporting. And delivery becomes a lot more complicated. And there's apps out there that allow us to help out with this. There's open source apps, there's paid apps. We even have, you know, defect tracking apps now that try to handle this. All of them I felt kind of fall short in a lot of ways. And my company had developed a product that was a data aggregation engine, and it's pretty awesome. And we noticed one of the things that never makes it into a data aggregation engine is pen test reporting. Because oftentimes, even if we're using a tool, we're pressing a button and then saying generate report. And what is it doing? It's spitting out a Word doc, a PDF, or we're sending an Excel spreadsheet. So when it comes to the business, we've entered this era of security where we have the horizontal side of the business and we have the vertical side of the business, where we have all us techie folks down here at the horizontal level, all the devs and testers and everything else. And then we have all the horizontal conversations with these people with C's and directors in front of their names, which eyes light up when we start talking about capital and operational expenditures. We have to try to translate this horizontal stuff into vertical stuff. And nowadays with modern legislation and different regulatory bodies and things of that nature, there's a lot of requirements to actually test. So if I have to choose a testing, security is probably going to get done because there's a mandate for me to do so. And there's dollars and possibly even jail time tied to it if testing's not done. So this is kind of a big issue, and it makes delivery even that much more important. So, and one of the ways we quantify what we do as testers, or people in general, is how we tie dollars to that. And as long as we can get on a big dashboard where senior people can see this, it's easier to start quantifying those numbers. And it also adds visibility. We're probably starting to hear a lot of, if you've been going to any security conferences lately, or if you follow Gartner or any of these types of organizations, you're probably seeing an acronym called DSPM starting to float around. And if you're working in security shops, DSPM is simply Data Security Posture Management. So it's bigger than just I'm running a pen testing shop, or I'm doing, you know, application, you know, software composition analysis, or source code analysis, or open source analysis. Nowadays, I've got shadow assets in the cloud. I've got applications that are owned by a vendor that I can't even test because of a license agreement I have with them. They're supposed to do their own testing. So we have all these artifacts everywhere, and we have to be able to manage that. So we're starting to see this class of applications called Data Security Posture Management being born to help out with that. But pen test data still doesn't get into that. So, you know, we're still this black hole of how do we prove what we do at the enterprise level to businesses. So this was a headache of mine. So we're going to talk a little bit about existing tools that we use. We're also going to look at a solution that we have, which kind of goes back to our data aggregation engine and how we kind of solve that problem. And why does this even matter? Well, part of it's because the tool is free. So that's the biggest carrot. It's a free tool. And I think it's pretty awesome. As a tester, I've had a lot of input into the tool. So if you're wanting a tester built by testers for testers, you've probably heard stuff like that before. This is another one of those things, but I have been testing for a while, and it's my baby, and of course you can call it ugly and all those types of things. I mean, I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. We can do all that type of stuff. So tools we use. Probably heard of some tools like Dredis, PwnDuck, Ghostwriter, Plextrack. Anybody use any of these tools before? If I may ask, what's the tool of your choice?
Right now I'm using Plextrack.
Plextrack? So Plextrack's a popular tool, and a cool thing about Plextrack, it's actually a paid tool though, right? You have to pay licensing for it. A lot of people have used PwnDuck. PwnDuck's another popular tool because it's open source. But you know, you may go to a Git repo tomorrow and it's the framework came out with a new release and that got integrated into the repo and it broke everything, and now your tool, if you are doing automatic pulls for a Docker image, whatever, you just broke your testing tool. So one of the things we didn't want to do is open source a tool. We actually wanted to build a tool that was very well tested and very well maintained, and that's our tool. So looking at some of the kind of gotchas there, when I look at PwnTox, here's some things it does well. It does report generation well. It allows us simple management of engagements. I could say, hey, here's my pen test, and you know, I could do some custom report generation. That's kind of neat. Dredis is a collaboration engine, so it gives me a lot more collaborative freedom there. Once again, Dredis is a paid tool, PwnDuck's a free tool, so we can start comparing those. But in both tools, they seem to have some missing components, at least for me, from a delivery standpoint, as well as what my company envisioned in that. And even more specifically, looking at, once again, getting that data into these management engines. How do we do that? So one of the things we needed a tool to do was do some level of reporting, because that's really the main thing for pen testing, is we need to be able to deliver to clients what we actually did. So these needed to be available. And a lot of these tools do this, but they don't necessarily do management. You needed a tool that would do both. Or they may do management really well, but not do a good job at report generation or reporting. They may be focused just on assets and things of that nature. Maybe they're focused on generating SBOMs or things of that nature. So it's just that type of stuff. So once again, not necessarily meeting all the requirements for pen test delivery. So new solution was kind of needed, and for us it was SaltMiner Community Edition. So our main monetized product is SaltMiner, and it's the big data aggregation engine, and it falls in that DSPM category. And the cool thing about SaltMiner Pen Test, both tools are based on Elastic Framework. So if you use the SaltMiner Community Edition, all that pen test data automatically goes in our tool, but it's also standalone by itself, stinking awesome, because it's kind of designed in a way a lot of the application lifecycle management tools would be designed. And because it's free, you could potentially say, hey, client A or client B, whoever or whatever, however you're doing your testing, whoever's ingesting your results, say, if you download this and stand it up yourself, I don't have to send you a paper report. I can export out the entire project with proof of exploit code, whatever I have in here, and you have the entire engagement that we did, not just with a screenshot, but the actual request response bodies, everything is there. It's like you'd see in a security management engine, and it's free. So kind of a huge thing there, I think, from a delivery standpoint. So we've got management done. So we can manage issues, exploits, artifacts, all in the same spot. Reporting, we can push a button or we can deliver that report. So kind of some huge stuff there. It also supports team testing. I know within my organization, a lot of the pen tests we do, you may have that person that's really good at cloud stuff. You may have that person that's really good at NetPen. As pen testers, we like to think we're the gods of everything, but let's be honest, a lot of us go like, not an inch deep, probably a little bit deeper than an inch deep, but definitely miles wide. But then you find that thing that you're like, you are the SME. Like if it's this thing, you're the person that they're always gonna go to on it. And we all find that niche and we kind of build our role out there. So we always build these teams of folks who have a lot of really good skills, and it makes testing fun and a lot more, I wouldn't say enjoyable, because it just is when you're breaking stuff as a team, but it basically makes testing in general just a better experience. Also bug hunters. Bug bounties is a big thing right now, and if you're trying to make some quick side cash, easy way to go. And if you're doing bug hunting, once again, hey, here's my entire engagement with exploit code, everything. I had to write these scripts. It's all in the engagement. You have a request response pairs, you have the scripts, you have screenshots. It's all in a single engagement file. So kind of some really neat stuff there. A bigger thing for me is methodology. So when you're doing testing, and if you're doing multiple testing, or you have multiple clients, or you're working inside of an organization where you have multiple business lines, if tester A tests something and tester B or C tests something, you need to make sure they're all coming up with the same results. And we all like to think that we have the special sauce, and we do. Testing is not just textbook. There's an art form to pen testing. There really is. But I still need you to do these textbook things first before you get all artsy on me. So, make sure we've tested authentication. Make sure we've tested session management. Make sure we've tested the basics. Then follow whatever rabbits down whatever holes you'd like to have, and document them well, because I may have to repeat this test in 30 days, 90 days, whatever, and I may have even seen what you did before. So another thing that we wanted was to be able to enforce methodology, and that can be done in the product also. And this is great if you're running team testing. Artifacts, I've mentioned POE code, and also visualizations. If you're using our actual monetize tool, then in all your dashboards, the visualizations are going to be there. You're going to need some basic visualizations as far as number of vulnerabilities, classifications, things of that nature, but it's all going to be there. And the way the application is designed, it's very templated. So if I need to, and we're going to demo all this in a little bit as well, so you can kind of see it, if the demo gods and the internet through my hotspot allows, and the VPN and all the pieces. But we're stacking it pretty high to Colin. But the great thing about that is consistent language. When we're doing delivery, and as we mature as a team, the last talk in here was about software testing, and what I got from that talk is, here's a person that's trying to mature their testing, and they saw lots of challenges, they see lots of challenges, and they're trying to move through those, and that's consistent. And we also see that even in pen testing, being able to create enforceable language, whether it's our vulnerabilities, whether it's our methodologies, so we're all talking the same way, using the same language, using the same vulns, using the same methodology. It's just going to make testing that much easier. And if we have junior people who are less experienced, we can just say, go to this step in the methodology. If you're still hung up, let's just jump on a Zoom or a team meeting or whatever, and let's help you figure this out. But it enforces just that team testing idea, mentoring, as well as enforces deliverable methodology for your clients. So this brings me to the demo phase before I start down that row of madness. Any questions, comments, anything of that nature? Before I jump in, what testing tools do we use primarily when we're pen testing? Anybody want to throw out some tools they generally use? Anybody use Burp? Anybody use Nessus? Anybody use Nmap? Zap? Okay. If you have to. Great. That's the answer I'm looking for. Funny thing is, as I've been doing conferences, there's been quite a few folks say, I work for a university or whatever, and we have to use Zap. And I want to hug them first, and say it's okay. But, no, I'm just kidding. A lot of people are using Zap. There was a talk last week at LastCon. A guy was doing full DevOps integration with Zap. And I didn't get to see that talk, and I really wanted to see that talk. I wanted to see how he pulled that off. But Zap as well. So Zap we are working on right now for integration as well. So one of the things we wanted as we built this, as we move out of this into demo, was the ability to also import our test results. So we do have a Python script. It's very simple. It's Python script name, application type, whether it be Nmap, Burp, whatever, and then name of output, Burp output, XML, whatever, and then it will format that for our JSON, spit out a JSON file, and you can just import that, all of it in, and you have all your vaults from Burp or whatever. So we've made that already out of the box, ready to go. Same with Nmap, working on Zap and Nessus right now as well. So let's take a little tour of the application and kind of show what we got here. So this is SaltMiner Community Edition. It is built on Elastic Framework, so it's Elk Stack. And once again, it is free. I would like all of you to go to saltworks.io and request to get set up with this. I want to show you an overview of how it works and some ways it doesn't work. And because I've got ideas about this could be used for lots of things other than pen testing. I'm thinking like functional testing, all types of stuff. And you'll see some things that I've kind of done in here. So first thing we want to do is, we have a new engagement. So we'll create an engagement in here. We have the customer. We can put a summary, and we can select our test type. By default, it's going to come with a couple. You can modify this to do whatever you want. I've also added social engineering, and I also added static to this. So just to kind of show, you can add whatever you need in here depending on what type of testing you're doing, API, whatever. Select your test subtype, and this is completely customizable, and create your engagement. How many people are familiar with testfire.net? Okay, so testfire.net, okay. That there's not a lot of hands going up, this makes me sad. It makes me hurt inside. When I'm talking about software testing with people usually, I'm like, okay, I need a sample application where I have a repo so I can do source code analysis. I also have a published API so I can do API testing, and I want to do dynamic testing against this. And testfire.net is an IBM application that was written years ago. There's a Git repo out there for it. They have defined Swagger definition files published, and it's a purposely vulnerable application, and it's awesome. So I use it a lot for demos because I can cover all my bases across the software development lifecycle with this app, and it's purposely vulnerable. So it's also great for teaching people who are juniors who don't have a lot of experience with stuff. So their app is called Altura Mutual. It's a fictitious banking app, and so I've created an engagement called Altura Mutual. And the first things you want to do when you create an engagement is add an asset. So when we think assets, did a pen test a couple weeks ago. They had AWS components. They had standard web server URIs. They had load balancers. They give us a litany of IP addresses. So we consider all those assets. So we begin adding those assets in here. So we'd add those individually. So we can say we want to add an asset. So you could call this URI1 or whatever you want to call it. Give a description of the asset, versioning info if you want to begin to do that. What business unit is attached to. This is all customizable. Is there a physical address if it's a business organization? Like if I want to put down IBM's address in here since we're doing Altura Mutual. Uptime, budget for this. I mean, we can really get as verbose as we want with this. If you see anything related to Star Wars or Halo in here, that's my own custom modifications to the testing. So Master Chief or other Star Wars or Halo things may be in there, so you can ignore that stuff. Then we have our dev team. So once again, add all your devs in here, and then you would continue to review and you would have your asset added. Once you've added your asset, you can begin adding your vulnerabilities. So there's a few ways to do that. One of the ways you can do that is you can actually have vulnerability to issue templates, because we want our testers to all use these same type of vulnerabilities, right? We don't want them to go into Portswigger or OWASP or some CV tracker out there and getting random language for an XSS vuln and throwing it in a report. They want to make sure we're all using the same language. So one of the cool things we have is template issues. You'll notice in here right now there is no templates. There's no issues. So there's kind of nothing here. And the reason that is because I'm going to show you one of the concepts. And that is we can actually create an engagement and say, these are my issues. These are all my vulnerabilities. I can set the classifications, sample text data, whatever. When I'm done with that, I can then say, I would like to export these issues as an issue import. So I export the engagement as an issue import. And then I can import this issue. So I can go back to my imports here. Close this little dialog. And I want to actually import template issues. Now, one thing we do anytime there's an importable issue, we provide you a sample CSV or a sample JSON file so you know how our application maps these things so that you can actually build whatever you need to build there, and you know exactly what our format is for that ingestion. So that's what I just exported. I'm going to go ahead and import this. We also have a job queue, so I can go to my job queue and see where the job is. And watch to see, is it running? Because we have, back-end components that are running as job managers, and they're processing all kinds of things. Go back to my engagements here, and I can go to my template issues. And now I see I have issues in my template issues. So if I was to go to my engagements and go into this and I wanted to add an issue, I can now say I want to add a template issue, and I can select it from my list of issues that I just imported. So here I can enforce language for my issues, create issue templates, all that type of stuff. So easy sauce there. So I basically am creating my own, vulnerability database. So I can basically create my own custom VulnDB, have it in here, and make sure the testers are all using the same language. Once I've decided if I wanted to create a single issue without that, then I'm just given a blank template. And I can go in and populate all this stuff. We have made it where it's markdown. The markdown fields is where you were going to put any special characters. Because we're pen testers, we've restricted special characters for the most part, and anything that's not marked down, because we know what we're going to do as hackers. We're going to try to abuse the living heck out of that. So, but being that you are going to install this yourself and you own the infrastructure, it's kind of yours anyway. So it is what it is. So this is a locally installed application. This is not cloud-based. This is your app. You download it, you install it, it's yours. We're just going to use the template issue because it's an easy button. So we're going to add a template here. And I'm going to choose, cross-site scripting reflected. If I need to change any of this, I can. Notice my asset is here. If we had multiple assets, we had test fire, we had other components, we could select which asset we're testing against. The location, the full location, because we know we have the root URI usually we're testing against, and then we have the actual full application path with whatever thing we fuzzed, whether it be a parameter or whatever it's in there, and we'll add that information. Instead of using calculators, how many people hate vulnerability calculators? Nobody here hates vulnerability calculators? So if you do full-time consulting for other clients, I've had clients send me their vulnerability calculators and say, we want you to use our vuln calculator to generate. And I've worked with many that are like, you get a low or a high. It seems to be there's no way you can get a medium out of it. You're like, no, I really think this is a medium classification, but using this calculator, it's so we just made it as a drop-down. So no matter what calculator you're using, you calculate whatever the criticality is based on whatever your policy is, and you can drop in your severity that way. So we kind of made it simple for you. One of the things we've done from enforceable methodology, you can create another engagement with all your test steps in it. So you could say, this is authorization, this is session management, whatever, and you can actually publish that and make it an engagement you would check out. Think like a Git repo where you check out a repo. Same thing here. So that way, a new tester comes in, it's a new engagement, they can check out the engagement and they have everything they need to test. So they're going to have fields in here such as found, not found, added warthog, because once again I was playing with Halo stuff with JSON the other day, so you have to forgive me. And this is the way that we can enforce that methodology. We can add any images, text, links, whatever. It's all marked down. Small markdown fields here, and then we would just save the issue. Once we're done with the engagement, we can publish the engagement. That also locks it so that testers can check it out, and it makes it where they can't mess with the master. They can only check it out. They can do whatever they want with the child, but they can't mess with the master engagement. We can also export the engagement as an actual engagement file, import it into another system. We also have a log, so we know who tested what. For doing team testing, I know who inputted what vulnerability. If someone changed something, I have a complete trail, an audit trail of a log of everything done in this engagement. I can also generate a report. We could have custom templates. If you're a consultancy that's dealing with multiple clients, or you're dealing with an internal business with multiple business lines and they require different reports, you can have different report templates. Select your report template and then just generate your report, and it's going to generate a docx for you. Right now, our admin is pretty simple. If you need to change any of this stuff, we'll just provide you access to the JSON. We can choose something like custom attribute definitions. We have engagement, issue, assets, and we can customize these fields to do whatever we want them to do. So you can customize this to be however you need to be for your testing organization. As a quick example there. Any questions so far? Any thoughts?
Are you running this on Testfire?
Actually, we're running this, I'm just running it on a local Elastic instance inside of my company. So Testfire is just an application. I ran a burps, I pulled up burp, that's just the application I tested it. Actually, those came straight from a burp import. So so I just exported burp out to JSON, imported burp, and there they were. So same thing with Nmap, same thing, like I said, we're working on a Nessus and we're working on a Zap right now also. And if there's any tools that we see people from a community aspect say, hey, we use this tool, we'd like to see support for that, we're going to build that. So, and we are consultancy, so if you have something internally that you built that's crazy that no one uses, we will take your money and build you that too. So, I mean, we're pretty easy. So we're good there. So, and that's kind of the base demo of the product. For delivery, I think it's awesome. It has a lot of potential. I'm even starting to use it for my functional testing. I've got an instance that's just for functional testing, put my Selenium scripts there, put all my manual test cases there. So if we have people come in that need to do regression test sets, whatever, they can log into the portal, they have an engagement, they check out, and it has all the test steps for a regression test. So you could use it for so many different types of things. I think it's pretty neat in that way. And I think we're running up, I think 5:30's break, so I'm gonna leave 5 minutes for, any Q&A, any thoughts.
You mentioned trying to do other things with it, like functional testing,
Mm-hmm.
In software only, or
Whatever. I mean, like, once again, social engineering, I added the social engineering category. That's not really you think of pen testing delivery category in a lot of ways. It's, no, I dropped a thumb drive and someone plugged it in or whatever, but I still might need to report against that. So I started building social engineering categories. I started, so whatever you're testing, not just security, I mean, functional testing, unit testing we talked about earlier. If we could have code samples, code snippets, if we have, something we download into an IDE, it could all be, kind of a storage thing for there. It could be almost an application lifecycle management type of tool at an elementary level for almost whatever you're doing. So, kind of the concept there. Well, that's my attempt on how to help the hackers. I want to help you deliver better pen tests and not make people want to claw their eyeballs out looking at a Word doc, to be able to look into a pretty tool and actually look at their request responses and all that type of stuff and actually manage their testing outside of just looking at a Word doc. So if you're interested in trying it out, go to saltworks.io/top button. You'll see our products and you'll see SaltMiner Community there, or I believe it's just SaltMiner Community Edition, and you can find it there and request a download.